So these are not Daleks. They're mimeograph machines. Mimeograph machines, you type up a stencil, you wrap it around a drum filled with ink, you feed some paper through, you turn the crank, and before you know it, you have printed a page, something like this. This was a gaming magazine I published as a teenager in the 1970s, and the first thing I learned was that when the black ink seeps into the pores of the white paper, you're done. You can't change anything. It's fixed, and you've got to live with it. Now, there was this stuff called correction fluid that let you correct stencils, and it had this odor that was kind of like a nail polish remover, and for some reason I really loved it. I would kind of sniff it. But really, you couldn't change once you were printed, and that meant, of course, that sometimes you were stuck. If you mispredicted a presidential election or allowed a four-letter word to enter your news column, you were screwed. Print is done. Now, most of us today using a different medium. We're using digital text. Digital text can be changed. And yet, we don't use this facility at all. Our text is born free, and everywhere it is still in chains. And we behave very neurotically when we do have to change things. We don't really know what to do with a web page when we decide we want to change something. So sometimes you'll see a news story like this one on the Huffington Post that tells us very kindly, this story has been updated. Well, that's nice, thank you. But what did you do? What did you change? You're not telling me. That's not very helpful. Or there was this story on Slate that some of you may remember, which attacked Politico for constantly changing its stories. The problem was Slate also does the same thing and did it with this very story, resulting in a Baroque pastiche of update messages that is still really pretty funny to watch. So I look at better models. The world of software developers that some of you are familiar with, you have something called version control. You save the record of every change you make in your code. Now, a lot of us aren't very familiar with software development in the journalism field, but we all use Wikipedia. Every page on Wikipedia has this little tab that says history. You click on it and you get the record of every change that was made on every page. It's an amazing thing. There's this guy named James Bridle who is a sort of publishing visionary. He did this project where he took every change that had been made to the Wikipedia Iraq War page and printed them out, bound them, 12 volumes. It's quite a record. Now, he was making a point there, but I found as I was exploring this topic last year that he also said in a different piece, everything should have a history button. And I read that, and a little light went off in my head, and I thought, yes, every page should have a history button. Every article that we publish should carry with it a record of its own past. And I propose that if we do this, we are not strapping an albatross around our neck as journalists. In fact, we are liberating ourselves to make changes in the stories we publish and to improve them, to make updates, to make small fixes, and to do all of this in a way that is perfectly accountable to our readership. Instead of feeling like we're getting away with something or we're doing something a little shady, we are accountable. Now, there are going to be some objections to this, I know. One thing I hear a lot is, what about libel? Well, you don't have to worry about libel any more than you do now. You can still take stuff down if you have to, for legal reasons. Readers won't care about all this stuff. What do you need it for? Well, most readers won't. That's why you hide it behind a history tab. It's there for the people who care. The rest don't have to worry about it. Now, errors, make a mistake, we should still regret the error. We should still correct them. This isn't a replacement for the correction process. It's an addition or an extension. It's another tool in our toolbox. So last year we created the WordPress post revisions display plugin. It works on WordPress. You can use it if you want. I use it on my site at wordyard.com. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it does the trick. It shows how this thing works. And I encourage you to take a look. Now, this stuff is a little scary. We like to feel that our texts are fixed. We like to feel that our stories are done when we're finished with them. But the truth is, if you look back at the DNA of our profession, you look back at the history, you realize that that's never been true. People at Wire Services have always known stories are always changing. They came up with a way to deal with it. We have an even better way to deal with it now on the web. We should free ourselves and allow our stories to change. We should embrace changes. Thank you very much. Scott Rosenberg.